Hey guys, Harv here, and welcome back to the Kerbal space program as we warp round at 8 times speed plus 100,000 times speed to get Jool in the correct position and to get it to the correct time of day, because we have just launched Onwards Mark II, our interplanetary landing craft, and this time it's going to Jool, or more specifically it's going to Laythe. Why Laythe? Well, Laythe, let me actually just get up the wiki page. Laythe is actually a very awesome place because it has well, for one thing, it's got water oceans, which is probably the most important thing out of anything right now. It's got water oceans, it's got land, it's got islands. Well, I mean, it has a very little amount of land, but it has islands and stuff like that. Now, we can actually see its equatorial radius is 487 kilometers. That's around 487, which is actually quite a bit less than Kerbin's 600 kilometers, but it's enough to provide a gravity of 0.83 Gs, which is, you know, that's only 0.17 Gs off of Kerbin's gravity, which isn't significant at all. Now, we're just going to keep burning, going into cinematic view because it's easier. As I've said, this is playing at 8 times speed. It's not live, as you can tell, because if it was live, it would actually take about an hour to do this bit. But anyway, we've got an encounter with Jool, so we're going to switch over to Planetary Pickup. This is what makes this mission difficult. Not the fact that we're going out to Jool, which is so far away, but the fact that to try and save mission time, and poor old Jebediah Kerman last time had to wait on the surface of Duna for like 3 years. Was it Jeb? Was it Bob? I'm not sure. But he had to wait there for ages. So we're actually launching 2 craft for the same planet at the same time, you know, in the same planetary alignments, which is hard. It's going to be a lot of switching in between them to get the distances right. So basically, we'll just be getting these 2 craft there to Jool. This one will actually arrive first, so we'll be able to sort out its orbit. It'll give us maybe 11 days, if I remember rightly, 11 days to sort out its orbit, which is, you know, it's a long enough time for us to do what we want. There's the sunrise over Kerbin. Last time we shall see Kerbin for many years. It takes us about 2 Kerbin years just to get there, so yeah, and that's about 1.5 years Earth time. But anyway, going back to Laythe, our destination, looking at the wiki page once more, its parent body is Jool, obviously, and it's got an orbital velocity of 3,223.8 meters per second, which makes it actually pretty easy to get to, because if you aerobrake correctly at Jool, then you'll be able to slow down enough just to rendezvous with its orbit, which we'll be doing later. It's got a perfectly circular orbit, which is great. It makes it so easy to rendezvous with, and it makes it just look, you know, cool. I mean, Kerbin's, I don't think there are any perfectly circular orbits apart from Laythe and Kerbin, which makes them, you know, pretty similar. So its surface gravity, as I've said, is 0.83 Gs, which is not enough to do any high jumping, which is kind of annoying, but it's better for colonization purposes. We don't really want superhumans, or super Kerbals. Escape velocity from the surface is 2,818 meters a second, which, when you compare that to Kerbin's escape velocity, which is from the surface, where is it? Oh, it doesn't actually say on this wiki page, I don't think. That's weird. That's actually very strange. Anyway, yeah, I'll try and find that. Meanwhile, we are time warping towards our Jool encounter, doing burns to try and reduce that periapse closer to Jool, burning north a bit, burning retrograde a little, and if we burn too much north, it actually disappears, as you've probably seen by now. It's like too much south even, and the encounter just disappears, which is so weird. I eventually figure out that we just have to keep on burning in order to get past that, and we'll re-encounter it. It takes me a while to realise that, though, which is a bit odd. I'm still looking for this. Oh, okay, I think it's on the right. Yes, here we go. So, escape velocity from the surface is 3,430.4 meters a second, as compared to Laythe's 2,818 meters a second, which basically means that our lander is very capable. Our lander will definitely get us off of Laythe's surface, no problems whatsoever, which is good news because we still haven't gone to Eve yet, and Eve has got a thicker atmosphere and more gravity and a bigger atmosphere, so it's more dense and it's got more of it in general. But yeah, so we'll time warp down, and we will be decreasing our planetary pickup periaps to 125 kilometers, which is 75 kilometers into the atmosphere of Jool. Look at that green sky. So epic colour. I just love that green. It's so unnatural, which makes it so awesome. But yeah, 125 plus a bit of burning, which isn't particularly efficient, but never mind. We actually need all the fuel we can get on this stage, so I am actually very worried about how much we have to remain with to get us home. But let's just ignore that for now. So going in at 125 for that, and we end up with a pretty big orbit still. And based on that, if we just curve this round to try and make it equatorial orbit, based on that, we're actually going to reduce this periaps to more like 120. Oh, we actually have a Laythe encounter here. We can get a bit of a glimpse at Laythe before we actually go in aerobrake. Zooming down past it at 100,000 times acceleration. There we go. There's Laythe, and there's bye Laythe. That was not a sentence. We actually have another encounter with Tylo, I think that is, afterwards, but never mind. The green sky, the green sky. And going in at 120 is much better than the 125. Just 5 kilometers makes all the difference. Look how much. We haven't even burnt at all, and we're that much in a lower orbit. So we really should have done that for the pickup craft in order to try and save fuel, but we didn't. So yeah, so it's all your fault. I didn't do it. That makes it your fault. Trying to adjust our inclination now, burning at 180 degrees along the node of the orbit, and it brings it down to around here. Bob's been in this craft for a fair amount of time. Now, if we actually just warp, we'll walk with the pickup craft, we'll warp with it, not walk with it, and we'll adjust its inclination, you'll actually notice that our landing craft has disappeared. Which isn't particularly great. Sorry, it's Bill Kerman who's landing, and it's Bob, who's Bob and Gibble, or someone. It's an awesome name, Gibble. Bob and Gibble are doing their thing. See, we're going to aerobrake a bit more, just to try and reduce that orbit some more. But you actually notice that the landing craft has disappeared. So that crossfade there was actually me editing some stuff. I felt cheated at the game because it shouldn't have disappeared. It just did, which is really weird. So I basically launched the craft again, and I changed the orbits and references to get it into a Jool orbit once more. It's got loads of fuel, but I mean, it's got loads of more fuel than it should have, but that's only in this stage, which we're going to throw away anyway. So basically, we just put it into a circular orbit, and now we've rendezvoused with Laythe. Laythe! Here we are, Laythe. We're so close to landing on it. Getting into a 250 kilometer orbit, or thereabouts, you know. It doesn't need to be circular. It's just that we want to be able to land where we want to. 250 to 260, something like that. Just warping round to the node. Actually did 2 laps there because I didn't do it in time. Burning north, trying to adjust our inclination. And we are actually ready to ditch this nuclear atomic stage and just carry on in the lander. After an hour's work and after 9 minutes and 13 seconds in video time, we can detach, burn slightly to get away from it, and we have our landing craft. We're ready to land. We're so close to doing it. This will be a giant leap for Kerbal kind. So here's live commentary Harv again. Oh, I know you love live commentary Harv. Here he is, and we're actually already descending onto Laythe. I've chosen our landing spot as Jool rises. It was actually going to be here, this lake, but I realised that if we landed by this lake, we would not actually get to see Jool from the surface. So instead, we are going to land here. So we were in that orbit. I've already deorbited us without recording. because I'm silly like that and I forgot to record. I forgot to press the record button, but never mind. We're going to land at this patch of land here, which is interesting in and of itself. We've got small lakes and, you know, this kind of bay area here to investigate. We actually need to send a plane here. I've been thinking that it's a pretty high atmosphere planet. The density of the atmosphere is pretty high. So a plane makes sense, and it's a lot more mobile on the ground, because we can give it wheels and go trekking. So yeah, I'm thinking we might actually relaunch a different mission after we've scouted out the area of this one. More of a colonization mission as well, and we can set up bases. Man, I have some big ideas for this place, because it's so perfect. I mean, it's got a liquid water ocean, which suggests a lot of things. I mean, one, there's very high possibilities of life. No greenery, which is interesting to say the least. Maybe the soil doesn't really harbour life. It could be radioactive, we have no idea. But like if we actually consider the fact that it's a liquid and it's this far from the sun, that says tectonic activity, which basically means it's got a rotating solid core of some sort, whether it be iron like on Earth or some other material. But that heat gives it tectonic plates which have boundaries. I've been doing geography, so yeah. I'm a smart ass, aren't I? But it just means that it'll be able to generate its own heat for a while, which is why we don't, on our planet Earth, and indeed on Kerbin, when the sun goes down over the horizon, we don't instantly become chillingly cold, because not all our heat is provided by the sun. The majority of it is, and it's transported via convection around the planet, but you know, a lot of it is actually the heat from the magma in the mantle. Jool! Oh, it's so massive, and we should actually be able to see it rotating as well from the surface, which is pretty awesome. I'm hoping I've got my trajectories right, because if I have, we should land. We might need to retrograde burn a bit more, but I mean the atmosphere is pretty thick. If we just open up our sensors, actually, yeah, we're nearly into the stereotypical blue part of the atmosphere range, which basically means kind of breathable density. If that's just my own assumption. I haven't actually got this from anywhere. But yeah, I think so. We'll actually start slowing down significantly more now that we've entered that. So yeah, our trajectory has stopped being orbital and it's become surface. What does it look like from the inside of the hatch? What does it look like? I mean, we have like only one very small window, and at the moment that is showing us absolutely nothing. Wonderful. Do we have an actual... because this is our correct altitude, this is our radar altitude, which we could actually land with if we wanted to. We might well do that, but we don't get such a cinematic effect, so we probably won't. I think I've got this trajectory pretty much perfect. We should be landing maybe in the middle of this area. Yeah, probably in between the lake there in the middle and the bay. Maybe even on the lake. If we landed just on the lake side, that would be perfect. We'd be able to explore it. Have a look at it. That'd be great. But at least we know we're not going to come crashing down into the ocean, because we can't perform an ocean landing. Lembry Kerman is looking scared. Along the way, we can only presume that Bill Kerman got a bit bored of his name and painted his suit a different colour using the medical supplies. Somehow he found colourings in the medical supply. He painted it a different colour, and he renamed himself Lembry. No idea why. The sand. I think it is sand, isn't it? It looks significantly sandy. Now we are subsonic, we can actually open up the parachutes. Look at them go. And once again we're going to land cinematically. Why? Because I want to. Because it looks bloody awesome. Oh, this planet. We keep on forgetting it's a moon. It's a moon. I mean, it's not a world or a planet in its own right. It is still just a child of Jool. Sorry about all the coughing as well. I'm pretty ill. Oh god. Don't hit the ground. Whew. Thank god these parachutes work. We can load up those landing legs. And it's sand. Beautiful. Silicon. Silicon. And that's significant because we are carbon-based life forms. And we all know this. It's just general knowledge that we're carbon-based life forms. But strictly speaking, silicon can actually act in the place of carbon, which means we might well find silicon-based life forms here, which will be a ridiculously incredible scientific discovery. Touchdown on Laythe. We're actually on a slope, which isn't optimal. It's kind of a bit annoying, actually, but it's not too much of a slope. It's not too bad. Here we go. We've landed. And they haven't fixed the clipping bugs either. Oh well, we've landed! Oh my god, we've landed. It's amazing. And we have some rocks nearby that we can check out as well, which is pretty awesome. But for the first time, Kerbal kind has come further than it ever has before, apart from the probes it's sent with people inside. And it's landed on a moon, and it's got all chance of successfully returning a man from this moon. Where is our rescue craft? On this orbit here. Okay, it's time to get out. I think we all know this to be true. Lembrikerman, how does it feel to be the first person to visit this potentially colonizable world? It should feel damn well exciting, that's how it should feel. EVA. Man, oh man, oh man. And he's on the ground, sprinting away with his faithful lander. We've done a good job of this lander. I think we really have. It's pretty compact. And, I mean, it can only land one person, which I think our next aim is to build a lander that can land more than one. But, I mean, this is incredible, really. So cool. So cool. Just have Jool there on the horizon. That's amazing. Let's go investigate a rock. Actually, we need to do some tests as to gravity and functioning. So, first of all, this is quite important. RCS, can it lift us off of the surface? No. Ah, bugger. That would have actually been pretty nice. How high can we jump? Higher than on Kerbin, certainly, but still not particularly high. Ah, that's a shame. That's a real shame. But, you know, it's better for colonising purposes, which at the end of the day is the reason we explore these other planets, to find life and to find other refuges for Kerbal after the resources get drowned out, as they are happening on our planet Earth back home. Let's sprint over to this rock. Let's see what's going on here. I'll tell you what feature I'd really like. I would actually really like them to be able to open these helmets on... Well, I mean, they can open the helmets no matter where they are, but they die if it's not a breathable atmosphere. Because if this has got water oceans, then we can pretty much guarantee its atmosphere will be at least mostly breathable. Like, we might need to take pills or might need to do drugs to try and adapt our bodies to survive in its atmosphere, because it might have pretty low oxygen levels. But you know, I think with this much ocean, especially seeing as land is pretty few and far between, this much ocean should actually guarantee that we'll be able to breathe it. So yeah, I'd like to see that, definitely. It's just a shame there's only one guy down here to explore this place. It would be nice if he had a friend. Although it would be a bit of a hellish experience to try and control them both in some reasonable form. Yeah, that would be kind of annoying. I'm fine with just one. Maybe we can go for a swim, but it's a while away, and it's going to be a massively long walk, seeing as we can't use our EVA fuel or thrusters. If we had a pickaxe right now, we could pick at this rock, but we don't. So we can just go inside it and make statues. It's just a face. Imagine finding this artifact. And that's actually a good point about artifacts, because there, in all likelihood, is an artifact on this planet somewhere. It's probably more likely to be at the poles. Actually quite an interesting topic to talk about, which we may well do a video on, is the Duna poles. There is a pyramid found at the southern ice cap of Duna, and if you stand on this pyramid you can hear a signal. That's ridiculous, it's amazing. And because the thing is, Ike is what's it called? I've forgotten the word of it. When it's locked, so it presents the same face, tidally locked. Ike is tidally locked to Duna, and it seems that this pyramid is actually pointing towards Ike, if I'm correct. Can't really see how it's possible when it's on an ice cap, but if it is, it may well be transmitting or receiving a signal from Ike, which, if we were to land on Ike at the very point the pyramid is pointing at, then we might find something interesting. Yes, people have decoded the signal using standard decoding software or whatever. I don't know anything about it, so I'm not going to talk too much on it, but and it's created this image where it seems to represent 3 Kerbals standing on the surface of Duna, and it shows planetary alignments. It's basically like a calendar, and on this date, when the planets are in these alignments, then who knows, maybe something will happen, or maybe it'll be a perfect time for us to do something. Haven't quite figured that out yet. This is an interesting change of shade here. If we actually look at the surface, do we see any riverbeds? It'd be surprising if we didn't, because it'd be quite nice to investigate some of those. There's actually riverbeds. They've actually found riverbeds on Mars, which is an amazing discovery. This suggests that, like, only 100 million years ago they were actually carved out, which 100 million years actually seems like a long time to us, when we live for, what, 90 years, depending on where you live in the world, of course, but only 100 million years ago, when the planet was formed billions of years ago, that shows recent water activity, all of which is very important to us as scientists, and as humanity in general. Jool. Unfortunately, we haven't got an awful lot to do here on the surface of Laythe. Basically, we can just get out and run around, which is great. It's a significant improvement over what we could do, which was just land. But it's, at the end of the day, we just have to go. There's nothing to do but land and then to retreat. Hopefully we'll be actually be able to do some stuff, pick some samples. And I want to return here and look at the ice caps. Oh, I've just disabled flow. That's not a particularly good idea. Yeah, I want to look at the ice caps, because ice caps are pretty awesome things, for the reasons we've just mentioned. Also, I want to be on. Oh, there's so much I want to do. Damn it! Let's just go. Let's just get this over and done with. So, we're going to dock with our pickup, which we'll probably do in non-live commentary. Yeah. Okay. Let's get ready to boost off of the planet, say our goodbyes, and then we shall dock and return home. So, we landed on Laythe. This is back to post-commentary, obviously. We landed on Laythe, and now we need to get back into orbit. Now, we've already said that the gravity on Laythe is 0.17 Gs lower than on Kerbin, and its atmosphere is nowhere near as tall, so that means it's easier to get off of. The crucial and ridiculous mistake I made was that I took a lander designed to get into orbit, and as you saw, it can get into orbit perfectly fine. I took that lander, and I decided I'd try and use it to dock with something in the orbit of a completely different body, which of course takes a lot more delta V. And it's harder to plan, especially when that orbit is not circular and it's hyperbolic, which means that it's harder to judge what's going on where and what's doing this and what's doing that. So basically, what it comes down to is the fact that this is the first video ever posted on my channel in which we failed. Or at least I failed. It's not like it's suspense or anything, because this video is sped up to 8 times speed, so you'll find out soon enough. It's just, I just didn't bring enough fuel, and I may well have brought enough fuel, I just didn't use it correctly. Our planetary, but by now, I think, judging by the video, yeah. Okay, so we've just got out of our lander, of our docking stage, because that's run out of fuel. Now we're using the EVA pack to try and desperately continue, bearing in mind that our Planetary Pickup ship needs all the fuel it can get to actually get sodding home. And we're using this EVA tank, and the worst thing is that we're around a gas giant. What worse circumstance could you be in to attempt to dock with limited fuel when you've got bodies circling you, and they are going to be interfering with your orbits all the time? And so now we're trying to use the EVA pack, and I reach like 15% on the EVA pack when I realise that, yeah, here we go, 15%. That's like the limit that we can really use. Just using it more in planetary space like this is just a waste. So we swap out to we swap out to our other ship. Oh wait, is this? Huh, that's weird. Might have duplicated some footage there. Anyway, we swap out to the Planetary Pickup, and we have to try and dock with the Planetary Pickup. We have to try and dock using the fuel that we need to get home. We don't even manage that, sadly. Warp round, try and change our inclination using some fuel, and then if you warp too fast, the physics says, get off our land, and kind of flings you out. So just warping fairly slowly, but of course it's ×8, so it looks very fast. And now we're going to hit Laythe, so we have to reload a quick save, and this took like 7 quick saves, and I still failed. 7 quick loads, and I still didn't manage to complete it, because it was a fundamentally not very well thought out plan, to be honest. I mean, at least we managed to beam back our information about density and stuff back to Kerbin, back to the scientists down there. But we failed. Or I failed. I should stop saying we, really, shouldn't I? I mean, it's not like you're here controlling it, even though at least I could blame you if that was the case. How much fuel do we have left? Safe to say, not enough. Warping ground, it's catching us up. The worst part is that when you think you're very close, you forget that the gas giant actually is so massive, and you actually forget how big the distances really are. I'm like, yeah, we must be close. Oh wait, inclination still isn't right. Change inclination again, using more fuel. Do this, do that. Just more and more fuel until eventually it will run out. Like, that looks close, doesn't it? No, not really. Because when our inclination is correct, our trajectory is not, and vice versa. It's a real shame, actually. It's a real shame. So yeah, this is the first video in which HOCgaming, this pilot who is supposedly really good, has actually failed to do anything. He's failed to return. Well, he hasn't failed to do anything. Speaking third person now, I have failed, and the fuel has just run out now, and that's it. No fuel left. So if you liked the video, please do like the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. But we are going to try this again. We are going to try this again, and we're going to be better and bigger than before. I'll see you next time.